Hello ladies and gentlemen, once again this is Jeremy Smith. Recently I got a chance to take a look at Sony's brand new A6700 as well as the new 70-200G f4 version 2 macro lens. Long name on that lens. I didn't get a chance to spend a whole lot of time with both these so far, but I wanted to give you guys some of my initial thoughts. We will take a look, of course, at the camera and the lens up close. A couple more things I'll mention to you that I didn't get a chance to mention whenever I was looking at these up close is that thanks to the new processor in the A6700, we do see all the new autofocus modes. While I didn't get a chance to really test these features on the A6700, we have seen these new focus modes on cameras like the A7R5. So this means that we can go in and do things like detect insects, detect planes and trains, and other types of automobiles, and just have much more advanced autofocus. Another thing that we see on this camera is Sony's new auto object framing, and this is something that we see on cameras like the ZV-E1. So this is definitely something we'll have to test out more. And yes, I realize I haven't tested out the ZV-E1 yet either, but I suppose this means that I'm going to have to get out and start doing some vlogging again. But yes, we see the same feature on this camera too. Anyways, guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts on this camera and this lens, and of course, we will be looking to do more testing in a future video. But for now, let's go ahead and take a close-up look at the camera and lens, and hear some of my initial thoughts. Taking a closer look at the Sony A6700, it is important to note that we are also testing Sony's brand new microphone today, the ECM M1. And this microphone is unique because it actually has the ability to adjust the pickup pattern. So I have it set to the rear of the microphone because I'm standing behind the camera. So you guys will have to let me know how this sounds. But anyways, back to the A6700. Very, very similar camera. Very similar in form factor to something like the A6600. You guys can see how we have a pretty decent grip on this one. I do have a A6500 here too to kind of compare. So it's pretty similar. The biggest physical change that I like is the fact that now we do not have to come down here and get our memory card. So now it's actually possible to get to our cards right here. This is a single card slot camera, which is to be expected on a camera around this level. But the nice thing about this is it is actually a UHS 2 style card slot now, so we have that faster ability there. Sony clearly took inspiration from the A7C with this design. As far as ports go, we have USB-C, we have our microphone port, and yes, guys, it is a tiny HDMI micro port here. But again, I think this is something that's forgivable on a camera at this price point. The biggest news around back is the fact that we have our new full touchscreen. So since this is using the newer Sony processor, like all the new Sony cameras, we do get our new menus that we've kind of gotten accustomed to on all the new Sony releases. And it is now a actual flip out screen, which is pretty cool. So you guys can see that we do have that ability now too. As far as our specs go, it's still 26 megapixels like the A6600. But now the thing that I do like is that we see a lot of improvements in our video. So if we go over to video, oh, and speaking of video, I like that we have a nice little toggle here. So we can go back and forth between stills and video and S and Q very quickly. I wasn't sure how I felt about this particular dial whenever I saw it in pictures, but actually after I picked up the camera, I really like it. Like, it really falls naturally under the thumb, and it's really easy to go in here and change the settings. So that's really cool. It has that contextual menu system going on, so whenever we go into video mode and we go into our menu, we actually get just video quality settings and not still settings as well, which is pretty neat. Taking a look at these different video quality options, we have 4K here, and we now have the ability to do 4K at up to 120 frames a second, which is a really standout feature on this camera. There is a slight crop factor. I may show you guys that in a moment here.
It seems to be around 1.5 times or so in 4K 120. Not a big deal though, because this camera is really the only camera at this price point that gives us that 4K 120 ability. And we have 4K 60 as well as 4K 24. And in those modes, you're oversampling, and there's actually no crop factor at all. Cameras like the Canon R7, for example, actually do pixel binning whenever they're in 4K 60. So this camera is going to produce much better quality 4K 60 footage because it is oversampled. So very, very nice there. And of course, it is important to note that it is actually 10-bit footage. You can do 4K 10-bit up to 422. So very nice there as well. I haven't shot very many stills with this camera so far, but it does give us the ability to do up to 11 frames a second burst. So that is a nice thing as well. It does 11 frames in electronic as well as mechanical shutter. Another thing we see here too is that we have the ability to do lossless compressed RAW. So now we don't actually have to, if we want to do RAW, we actually do not have to do the uncompressed if we want to have the highest bit rate. We can actually do our highest bit depth, I should say. That way we can actually get our 14-bit files in a much smaller file size, which is pretty neat as well. So we've got lots of new things to look forward to on this camera. Some people have been complaining about this viewfinder. It's like 2.36 million dots or something like that. But the thing I've noticed is cameras like the Canon R7 have the exact same spec. And even though the actual dot count is the same, I do notice that this viewfinder, it seems to have better optics. It does look better than the A6600 in my opinion. So I think it's still a nice worthy update. Something else that you guys have probably noticed is that I have an exciting lens on this camera. This is the Sony A6700 f4 Macro G OSS version 2. So a bit of a mouthful of a name. But this is a very, very nice lens. I'm going to be playing with this more. You guys can obviously tell that it is very small and lightweight. Well, you can't tell that it's lightweight, but it is lightweight. It's much more compact. It does extend when zooming. But the nice thing about this one also is that it has some macro ability. So it'll do about half-life size without a teleconverter. If you use a teleconverter, it will do 1-to-1 macro. And the nice thing about this is even at all focal lengths, it will do a very, very nice macro. So it's not one of these deals where it's only macro within a certain focal length range. It will do the same type of magnification at any focal length, which is pretty cool. So we'll no doubt be talking about this one in more detail as well. But anyways, just wanted to give you guys a quick little look at things. Write me in the comments below. Let me know what you'd like to see me test. And we will be doing more testing very soon.